Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Goo podcast as United slumped to a 3-2 defeat at the Emirates. So joining me today is Chris Nugent, who's back on the show, who's obviously a United fan. Welcome, Chris.
How's it going, Kyle? How you going?
Not so good. Connor's joining us today, who's an Arsenal fan. He's one of our mates. Welcome to the show, Connor.
Great to be here.
I'm sure it is. So I'm just going to give a quick summary of what I seen today, and then I'll come to you first, Chris, and then on to Connor. So as I put on Twitter, I thought the better team won the game. It was always going to be an uphill task for United, even with Casemiro. He obviously wasn't available. I'm slightly disappointed with Ten Hag because he didn't go for it at 2-2 by bringing on Garnacho. Lots of fans have been saying that. We just sat off them in the last 20 minutes, invited them on, and that was always going to be dangerous. I thought Saka destroyed Shaw today. Shaw showed him far too much respect, backing off, and allowed him to get into a shooting position. I thought Eriksen should have been subbed off for Fred whenever Fred came on, because Eriksen, when you're playing a high-intensity game, Eriksen is going to tire after about 60 minutes. And basically, to summarise, what we saw today was a team at top of the league against a team who's fourth in the league, and that was the game that we witnessed. So how did you see it, Chris?
Yeah, pretty much the same, Kyle. I don't think United played particularly badly as such. We weren't awful, and obviously the score reflects that. We had a few chances ourselves and got a couple of goals, but it was hard to really argue with the result at the end of it all. I think Arsenal were the better team, and keep feeling like, and Conor will laugh at him saying this, all season when Arsenal be playing well, you think they're going to do an Arsenal and it's all going to go wrong. But I think this is the strongest I've seen them now for a few years, where actually, I feel like they are a genuinely strong team, and their league position reflects that. So, yeah, I think it was a tough game. You're right. We missed Casemiro for obvious reasons. He's just got that quality and reads the game so well. And defensively, you looked and thought we could have done better. But, I mean, Arsenal played well. Their players played well. And, yeah, they probably deserved it. So, probably a fair result, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought Arsenal were definitely the better team. They had the majority of the chances on the possession, so we can't really have any complaints. Just our only complaints really are substitutions by Ten Hag and tactical decisions by Ten Hag today. And not that I'm having to go with him. I think United are going in the right place under Ten Hag, but today just a couple of things he got wrong in my opinion. So, Connor, how pleased are you with Arsenal's performance today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously over the moon, but I'm still pretty much coming down from it, because I honestly thought I was going to have a heart attack in the last 5 minutes of that match from everything that was happening. It was just the last kind of 25, 30 minutes, just basically after Martinez equalised. I expected a United kind of onslaught almost, a couple of changes, and I was getting frustrated with Arteta, as I sometimes do, that he doesn't kind of take a chance and make a couple of changes. He's kind of happy to stick with the 11 that have got him there, and it was good to see Trossard come on. He didn't exactly do nothing when he came on. He did have an impact. He passed to Zinchenko, who set up the goal, but he looked pretty good in a wee cameo. But yeah, when it went 2-2, I was worried, because I just thought this is United are kind of. They're getting back to old school United. They get a bit of momentum when their backs are against the wall, and a game like that where it's end to end, you can't call it, it's always kind of favoured United, that style, those kind of games. But with this Arteta team, what would have been, even back in the Wenger days or Emery, you could have easily seen United go and win that 3-4-2, no problem. But he's got the team, there's just I don't know, like a togetherness and a kind of even when it went 1-0, you're like, God's sake, 1-0, great goal by Rashford, absolutely brilliant finish. But all of a sudden, the fans are just chanting Arsenal, it doesn't disturb them, they just get back into the way of play. And that's another thing, they don't deviate from the way of playing, almost like City in a way. And it can be frustrating sometimes when you're playing against a low block. You're not saying United played that whole game, certainly, but especially in the Newcastle game, it gets very frustrating. You're just like, I wish we had a plan B. But they kept at it, and I was starting to get a bit kind of like, oh, we're not going to get the third here. But then, and then the VAR as well at the end. It was a brilliant match. It was in the end. I've seen people online saying, it was back to the kind of heyday. In certain aspects, I suppose there was some challenges flying in and stuff, but there's still nowhere near the amount of animosity that happened in the past and stuff like that. And the quality of football in terms, I would agree with it that way, but I still think we're a long way off the bitterness and the rivalry that existed 10, 15 years ago. But as a match, it's got to be the game of the season so far, and obviously great to come out in the winning side,
Yeah, it was definitely a great advert for the Premier League, but I don't think we'll ever see the Keenan Vieira days ever again. That was totally unique, and that wouldn't be tolerated anymore. The challenges by Gary Neville and Antonio Reyes, you just wouldn't see that anymore. It'd be a straight red.
I mean, I would have been very happy to have seen someone take out Fernandes, but I just don't think the Arsenal players are. Well, maybe Xhaka, but apart from Xhaka, probably, I don't think there's really any dirty players in the team, and I'd probably say the same about United. Actually, McTominay maybe capable of a wee nasty challenge here and there, but the game was played in a good spirit, and like you said at the beginning of the pod there, Carol, it was good that there was no kind of controversy or sometimes a game can be marred by a bad decision or handball or a foul or that should have been a red card, but I can't think of any decisions the referee got wrong. There was no controversial kind of decisions that I can think of. I mean, can you?
Nothing massive. Just the Eddie Nketiah goal. The officials seemed to check was he offside, but they didn't check was Zinchenko offside in the build-up.
His definitely looked tight now. When I have to admit, we were talking during the game over WhatsApp and whatever, and I think I texted you as soon as the goal went in. I was like, that looked offside. So I wasn't celebrating until the VAR said, Zinchenko, his foot did look marginal. And Keddy is well on, but Sky at the time claimed that they were looking at both decisions. But again, as a viewer, we don't know anything until the decision's made. It's a great disadvantage in terms of VAR that we're not more informed, I suppose. And then you think about the people in the stadium, they had absolutely no idea what was happening until the decision on the screen.
I think
it's gotta be changed, I think, in terms of the communication,
I agree. I saw the post-match interview actually there. I don't know if you guys saw it with the Saka and Nketiah. And I think Nketiah himself actually wasn't sure if he was definitely on. I mean, it happens so quick, you just do it. And it was funny. And then Saka, very quickly, you could tell, has a bit more media experience. He quickly corrected him and sort of said, no, you were definitely on. You were definitely on, kind of playing the party line. But in fairness, I think it was probably a fair decision in terms of Nketiah. But you're right. Maybe Zinchenko was more the issue. But I totally agree with you, Conor. It is frustrating. Again, we always kind of compare it all the time to rugby, and you don't like to make that comparison, but in a rugby match, I always feel with the TMO and the ref mic'd up and all, you feel like you know exactly what's going on and even the discussions. So it does feel you're a wee bit more out of the loop with VAR. So it would be nice, definitely, I think, to be a wee bit more clued into the decision making kind of process. But yeah, it probably was maybe fair at the end of it all anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, we got a bit of luck against City, but against Palace and today it didn't. The luck with the officials didn't go with us. But I thought it was even worse on Wednesday night. It was Conor even said it himself. It was a clear penalty, the foul on McTominay in the Palace game, and somehow
I think that was clear as day. That decision, it was a really bad decision.
Yeah, I mean, because I think it's hard way to cost us because he's now set with in quotes a high bar, where the VAR doesn't get involved unless it's 100% an error by the referee, and now we're just basically back, unless it's an offside decision. Now we're back to VAR not even being used in most cases. It's ridiculous.
Hardware never did give us a sniff, did he?
The irony isn't lost there. One thing I kind of picked up on, I wanted to kind of get your opinion on, because it's the modern way now, especially coaches like Cruyff kind of disciples like Guardiola and sure Ten Hag as well. There's the playing out from the back now. Obviously, when Arteta started, we were really, really bad at it. I can remember so many occasions losing the ball outside the 18-yard box and either leading to a really good chance or a goal. and they've kind of worked on it. Obviously, they've brought in certain players that are adept to doing it, and Ramsdale has improved with his delivery and stuff. He's still not perfect, makes some mistakes. What happened in the game today, I think, it shows you De Gea's deficiencies with his feet. And I seen you were linked during the week with Raya from Brentford. What are your thoughts on finally replacing the big man in between the sticks?
Well, there definitely were issues today with De Gea and his distribution. I think he played Wan-Bissaka into trouble for the first goal. And Wan-Bissaka lost the ball under pressure, and then it ended up in the back of the net eventually. And De Gea I think he launched the ball into the stands at one stage. De Gea, we got a big target man now. He should be going long.
I thought he had a good game actually. The guy up front, I thought he played well. Just doing the normal things well, holding the ball up, creating play at the top of the field without looking really like a goal threat. But
yeah, he's done that in both games. He's good link play. He's working really hard, but he's not been much of a goal threat. But I think he's doing all right. Yeah, you can't expect him to set the world alight when he's at Burnley last season, and he's playing in the Turkish Super League. So if he gets a few goals, any goal he gets is a bonus. But yeah, he's doing all right so far. Can't blame him for it today. I think what we witnessed today was Arteta is 3.5 years into the process. Ten Hag's only 6 months in. He's only made 5 signings or 6 if you include the loan signing. So Arteta's had a lot longer to build this team, and that's what we've seen. Where Arsenal are now is where we want to be in 1 or 2 years, and hopefully we will be. I still think we're going in the right direction. It's just that Arsenal are further along in the process, and Arsenal. So I just want to get your opinion on it, Conor. Do you think that with the fact that you've still got to play City twice, do you think you can win the league now? Have you got the belief?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that. I don't know. I can't say for sure. I really can't, because it seems like every month that goes by, you see something like, well, this is going to be the month where something happens. And then, I remember back to November, and I looked at the fixtures myself, and everyone, the kind of public opinion was like, these are really hard fixtures. You're going to slip up a couple of times. And I think the 1-4 drew 1, or maybe the 1-5, it was included beating Liverpool and Spurs and stuff. But beating Liverpool at the minute at home isn't really that impressive when you see what's turned out to happen with them. But yeah, so every month goes by, those 2 City games are still, they're just there in people's heads. And I think it's good that the first one's at home, because if they go into that game even with a 5-point gap, it could be 8 points, and they manage to beat City, then I just cannot see them dropping 11 points. I just can't. Not the way they're playing. It would take a monumental drop in performance and a few bad injuries and just basically bad luck, I think, to fall from that kind of deficit. But if they go into the City game and it's only a couple of points, and then City get a result, it's all it's anyone's then. And then even people are saying about United being too far off. I don't know about that, because the way the fixtures are coming and who's playing who when and stuff like that. Like, you look at City's fixtures as well, they've got some tough games to come as well. They've got to go away to Spurs, and you say what you want about Spurs the other night, and it was very Spursy. They've still got to go there. Spurs are dying for a big result. Conte will have them well up for that game, I guarantee it. And I don't think that's but then again, has Guardiola's wee speech the other night, has that got them, have they got their mojo back? I don't know. So, I don't know. It would be amazing, but my thought at the start of the season was Champions League would be amazing. We were so far off it most of last season, and then blew it right at the end. A lot of people had us finishing 5th or 6th this year, not even in the conversation for the top 4, let alone the title. So the transformation, the signings have been great. I think another year playing the style, getting used to the way of playing, just the pressing game, the energy, but my gut tells me they'll fall short. I think they'll probably just fall short. Maybe City win it by 2 or 3 points or something but second would be an amazing result. If they can throw in a cup, all's the better. Like, but if they were to win the league, it would be. I don't know if it'd be up there with Leicester, but it wouldn't be far off when you think about where they came from. Like,
Yeah, the two City games are massive because I think City would go top if they won both of those games. True City fan who's in the chat here says Arsenal need to be drug tested. I think he's saying that with tongue in cheek.
well, Arsenal have a game in hand over City, and they're 5 points ahead at present. They win their game in hand, that's 8 points. So they can still lose 2 games to City, but then they would need to pretty much win every game. City aren't guaranteed to win every game for the remainder of the season at all. But it's just so tight,
Arsenal have been so consistent. I mean, the only game they've lost is to United at Old Trafford. That's remarkable, considering we're now at the 22nd of January, or albeit we lost 6 weeks to the World Cup. But yeah, United obviously conceded 3 goals today. They lost the game. So obviously, despite the fact that Rashford and Martinez were fantastic, there was a few bad performances in there. So Chris, who do you blame for the defeat?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, the first goal, you have to look, or maybe it was the second goal. The first goal, I think it was, where the cross comes in, and the header at the back post. I mean, Wan-Bissaka, absolute schoolboy defending that he didn't see the guy coming in behind him. Actually, he knows he's there, and he's marking him the whole time. And then he just the ball comes in, and he literally just watches the ball dip over the back of his head, and the guy comes in and nods it in. I mean, that's absolutely schoolboy defending, which is really disappointing from Wan-Bissaka, and the guys in the panel and Sky Sports were saying, as they pointed out, is that he doesn't offer much going forward. So we always say, but yeah, at least he can defend. But actually, that is allegedly the stronger part of his game. Let him down for that. So it's hard to look past him for the blame on that one. Saka's goal where he curls it in. At first, when I first saw it, I thought he's quite far out. De Gea should do better, but then when I looked at it from the other angle, as I sort of thought maybe it was the case anyway, he was kind of unsighted, and I think it might have even take a slight deflection. So he probably not much he could do. Eriksen, I think we were texting him WhatsApp, Kai, you said he's not a central defensive midfielder, so you would like anybody to have maybe got a wee touch on the ball there, but I mean, look, he's not a defensive midfielder. Saka's a good attacker, and he just has a wee bit too much pace for him, and he gets around him. And like I say, De Gea's unsighted, so you can't say it's any more than probably a really good goal. But yeah, maybe if Casemiro or somebody was in there, somebody more defensively minded, they might have got a block on it or something. But yeah, like I say, I don't think United played particularly badly. I don't think we defended poorly. We didn't, I think Arsenal did have 25 or something chances, but not that many on target really. So I don't think we were destroyed by any means, but just wee small moments. And as you know, in big games like that, when Arsenal are in such good form, it's the small moments that change games at that level, and you have to be on it, concentrated 100% the whole time. And small slips like Wan-Bissaka made can cost you the game. So yeah, probably some kind of individual errors probably let us down a wee bit.
Yeah, I think Ten Hag said as much in his post-match analysis, that the decision making cost us, and it's very fine margins in games like these, and we made bad decisions. But I thought the two fullbacks were particularly bad. The McTominay is just not Casemiro. I mean, Arsenal were passing through us too easily. There's probably at least some of those Arsenal attacks that Casemiro would have, he reads the game well. He would have made interceptions. He would have made tackles, but McTominay was totally anonymous. I mean, I think I can remember making one tackle, and the second ball just went straight to an Arsenal player. Yeah, that reminds me of something. Arsenal must have won every single second ball, every single third ball. It's just one of those games that United just never seem to win those things. If you want to beat Arsenal at the Emirates, you need to win second balls. Did that really frustrate you as well, Chris?
Yeah, it did, Kyle. It tells you a wee bit about desire, doesn't it? And again, it's funny, Conor, you were saying there about the intensity, and both guys saying intensity is probably never ever going to be the same as it was in the Keane and Vieira days. Those days when you nearly would have broke your leg to get the ball or to make an interception, and you feel like those days are kind of gone. It's almost like the modern game is a wee bit nicer, and people don't absolutely bust themselves. But in games like that, whenever it is so tight, you need to just be a wee bit more up for it, and sometimes that can be the difference. So given that, you know, United, you would have hoped would have been a bit more effort, and like you say, Kyle would have been first of those second balls and had a wee bit more hunger. So yeah, it is disappointing. But again, on the whole, I don't think we played badly. But yeah, you know, given that it was going to be a tough game, maybe that wee bit of desire could have been the difference. So yeah, it's definitely frustrating when you don't see that, when you know they need it, kind of thing.
Well, I'm going to both ask you for your opinions on Anthony. I find a very talented guy, but very frustrating there. Very one-footed, bit of a showboater, been a major disappointment. You could argue he hasn't had a good game at all. He scored 5 goals, but those 5 goals have masked his poor performances in those games. And I think he's been poor in every other game. Today, I wasn't impressed by him. Okay, he worked really hard. I think he made a vital tackle at one point in the first half. But I've never seen a more one-footed player in all my life. So I'll come to you first, Chris. What do you make of Anthony so far?
I feel like Anthony, it's a maturity thing or something. I feel like he does silly things, you know, kind of stupid things, you know, like, you know, showboating and stuff. That it's almost like he's not really, like, I don't know, as if he's just not like mentally understanding what it is that he kind of needs to do, or what's good and what's bad. And I remember whenever he signed, or just before he signed, he talked about Ten Hag and how much he liked Ten Hag, and he said that when he came to Ajax, that Ten Hag at the start he thought was being hard on him, and then he very quickly realized that actually Ten Hag was giving him good advice and that it was really helping him. And I kind of, when I saw him at United, I was expecting a wee bit more of a kind of mature player because of those kind of the statements that he'd made. But I'm looking now and thinking that the same thing is kind of all over again. It's almost like he's come to a new league, and he's almost like, you know, maybe it's not the league, but he just, whatever stage it is he's at his career, I feel like he still has a lot to learn maturity wise and things like that. And I feel like Ten Hag is, as he has been, sometimes hooked him for doing silly things, and I feel like he's going to have to just keep on learning, and Ten Hag's just going to have to keep on top of him. And there's definitely a player in there. He's got ability. There's no two ways about that. But I think, like you say, he is a bit one-footed, but he's quite raw, and he does silly things. And I feel like, yeah, he's got a bit of a long way to go. But I mean, I think there's potential. Being positive, I think there's potential, but I think he's pretty rough at this kind of point.
So, Connor, do you think United could have signed someone better than Anthony, or do you think he'll come good eventually?
I don't know. I mean, he's looked good in glimpses. I mean, he scored that great goal in his debut against us. But he kind of reminds me a wee bit, and you'll probably hate me for saying this, of Nicola Pepe. Both absurdly left-footed, massive price tags, huge pressure on them to perform instantly. I do think he is a better player by miles than Pepe, like, you know, but just the way they're playing at the minute, both, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's the league, maybe it's the tactics, I don't know. But yeah, like you said, he seems to be a bit of a one-trick pony, or certainly a one-footed pony anyway. I don't know if a position change might shake things up, but you can't displace Rashford from that other wing. Like, he's just too good in that position, and I don't see him as number 10, and I definitely don't see him playing through the middle. So I guess the right is the only place he's going to play, but I don't think United have a ready-made replacement for him, really. Like, you know, they've got that wee lad, Garnacho, but I think he's better on the other wing maybe as well. But so yeah, the jury's out. Maybe his first season, you give him a bye ball. Like, you know, I mean, if he's still not performing into the middle of next season, you might need to kind of cut your losses, and it's a big loss because of his price tag. But thinking back to when he's got him and all, was there a better option? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, you probably could have got another player for cheaper, you know, maybe even from the Premier League, maybe from Brighton or something like that. I don't know. But, you know, playing for United, it's huge pressure. Like, you know, he comes from Ajax, who are a massive club and all, but, you know, they're winning the league every year at a canter, you know what I mean? Coming in the United side, who are very much rebuilding. You know, it's going to be tough to hit the ground running, you know, massive pressure, but he has talent. You can see it's obvious he's a talented guy, but I think Chris is ready. He needs to kind of just put his head down, quit the tricks and all this here rubbish, and just focus on working hard. And if he doesn't get the goals and assists and all, at least just work hard for the team and track back, you know, stuff like that, work for the team. You know, even a player like Saka, who's, you know, arguably being player of the season, you know, I remember when he started in the team, it wasn't instant. You know, his goals and assists ratio wasn't great, like, but he always worked hard and he always looked to be a threat, you know. And I think Anthony's definitely capable of being a really good player. At United, I'm not so sure though. I mean, he could go somewhere else and be unbelievable. But I just think the size of the club, and he might just be one of those players. It's like, if I'm at Ajax, I'm a world beater. But you put me at United, and with the pressure and the kind of expectations of playing for a club that size, and you know, a United winger, you know, ideally back in the day, like the best United wingers are attacking midfielders. So we're getting 10 to 15 goals a season, between 5 and 10 assists a season, without even breaking a sweat. That's what's required. I think if United are to get back to the promised land type thing, they need goal scoring wingers as well as. I mean, you can't just. I mean, Rashford was the best player for United today by a country mile. Every time he got in the ball, I was just worried. He got outside the 18-yard box, he got in the ball, and even when Tommy Asu, I think if Ben White had stayed on, he would have been sent off. Definitely, no doubt. I mean, it's very unlikely Arteta to take someone off at half time unless they're injured. And maybe, I don't know, I haven't seen the news after the match. Maybe he does have a slight knock. I don't think he did. I think that yellow card in the first half made Arteta's mind up. He's like, I've got to get Tommy Asu on, who's maybe more of a traditional right back. He's taller and as well, which helped. And Rashford's had him on toast as well for a lot of occasions in that second half. Every time he got the ball, and the other side of the pitch with Anthony, there just wasn't that threat. It just, and you know, Zinchenko's a good left back, but it's, you know, half the time he's in midfield. You know what I mean? I mean, if you looked at Zinchenko in that game, like he spent most of it drifting in the midfield, as is Arteta's way. You know, he wants his left backs to drift into the centre to create chaos. But Rashford, yeah, I mean, if you can get someone of equal kind of ability on the other side, I think teams are in trouble, like, because once you get your number 9, which eventually, I don't know if you remember, but I've been, ever since years ago, I always used to say to you guys, Harry Kane will end up a United player, and I'm sticking to it. Eventually he will be wearing red and playing at Old Trafford. I've said it for years. The best strikers in England always play for United. Or not always, but you look at your Rooney, and even going back to Dwight York and Cole and Sheringham, and you know, English talent or whatever, you know, I can see Kane, if they don't finish Champions League, I think these will be in for him in the summer, and him and Rashford in the same team. That's going to be big problems next year if that happens, definitely. And if Anthony gets better, Jesus, yeah. So give him a bit of time, but you know, the jury's out. Very much the jury's out on him.
Yeah, I think it has to work out because the manager insisted on signing Anthony, and we spent £85 million. So the manager will be heavily criticised if it doesn't work out. But another option we have, which the manager didn't use until the 93rd minute, was Garnacho. And I know, you know, he plays in a different wing, but you could easily try out Garnacho on the right. I think at the moment he's a better player than what Anthony is. So Chris, were you a bit frustrated that Garnacho didn't come on a bit earlier or even started the game?
Yeah, I like Garnacho, Kyle. I think you know that. I talk about him a lot. Yeah, I think he's a top class young player. I saw him in, I think it was a City game the other week there, and he came on a bit late. And at first I thought, oh, you know, he's looking like he might not have an impact here. You know, maybe he's not quite ready for that absolute top level. And then he turned around, and I think he got an assist, and I thought, he played a great ball across the box, and thought, nah, do you know what, this guy is comfortable at this level, 100%, no issues whatsoever. So, yeah, I could have seen him starting, and maybe it's for the reason that Conor gave there, you know, that he would like to have him down that left hand side, and obviously Rashford is kind of good down there at the minute, and you can't not see past Rashford at all because he's playing so well. So maybe that was the only reason. Maybe Ten Hag thought that, Anthony was more of a threat coming in, curling the ball with his left foot off that right-hand side. So maybe that was the only thing that went against him. But in every other way, shape or form, yeah, I think Garnacho is probably a better player. And I'm talking what I was eulogizing a minute ago about maturity. I see that maturity in Garnacho. I see the good decision making. I feel like he knows what to do when he gets the ball. It's not a head down like Anthony can be and run with it. You know he's aware where people are in positions and things. So actually, yeah, and to all intents and purposes, I probably would have been happier to see him start. And like you said, Kyle, he should probably have come on a bit earlier. I mean, I try not to criticize Ten Hag too much because I really like him. I have a lot of faith in him. But yeah, when you're two each, and you're thinking, we want to go on and kind of win this here. Anthony probably wasn't doing it. Yeah, I think he could have brought Garnacho on. But at that point, but yeah, he obviously didn't, and it didn't quite work out. And he himself might reflect on that. But yeah, Garnacho's a good player. Yep, I'd have been glad to see him on the pitch.
Okay, another thing we need to come to is that at left back recently, Terrell Malacia has been playing a lot of games. Shaw's been playing centre back quite a bit. Tonight against Bakary Saka, Ten Hag decided to go with a more offensive left back rather than the one who's better at defending, and it didn't work out. Saka had Shaw on toast. Shaw showed him far too much respect, backing off, and allowing Saka to get closer to the goal. Should Malacia maybe have played this game? He definitely not saying that like he would have done better against Saka, but he certainly would have got closer to him and made it more difficult for him. I know Saka is a world class player, but do you think Shaw's defensive frailties were basically laid out in front of everyone today? He wasn't good, was he? You could make the case that Malacia should have started. So what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, it's like I said about Saka's goal, with Ericsson not getting close enough to him. I think whenever you've got a player who can score from out there like that, some players that Shaw likes to back off a lot. He kind of does that. That's one of his flaws, in my opinion. But that's okay if you're trying to read the ball, or you're trying to intercept a pass, and you don't need to put a tackle in, or if the guy can't shoot from distance, you're going, well, the keeper's probably going to get it, and maybe that was the thinking, the faith in De Gea. But yeah, a player like Shaw backing off against a player like Saka who can score from distance, it's always going to be a recipe for disaster for that reason. So yeah, I think you're right, Kyle. Malacia likes to put the boot in a bit more. He's a bit more aggressive. Not that Shaw isn't aggressive. Shaw is aggressive, but Shaw's style is just kind of trying to nip the ball away and kind of almost look like he's not trying sometimes. And I think against a player like Saka's probably not a good thing. So yeah, I can see how you can make that case. I think that's probably fair. Yeah.
I'm surprised that we didn't go with 4 midfielders like we did against City and just play 2 attackers. Be solid, be hard to break down. He went with the 3 midfielders, left, right, out, and played 3 across the front. I thought that was a bit risky, and it was, it didn't give us enough protection. I don't think, especially with Casemiro missing. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. The team made slight errors. The manager made a few errors, and it's fine margins in games like these, and we lost, but we deserved to lose. Arsenal was a better team. But just to come to a couple of comments there, Rock Roll says we can't afford for Rashford to have back pain again from carrying us every game. This club needs more investment. Yeah, Rashford not only was such an excellent goal, and we haven't even talked about that yet. He had Thomas Partey on toast, and then he just let a rocket into the bottom corner. And then he had another. There was a save that Ramsdale had to make in the second half, where I think Rashford went round a few defenders, and the shot was deflected.
Yeah, it was a great save. I actually thought it was going to bobble in, so I'm glad it went wide. But Rashford just such a handful. Like, you can tell he's back to his best. Finish was unbelievable. Just like absolute rocket into the bottom corner, unsavable. Really, I mean, don't blame Ramsdale at all for that one. The second goal, like Ramsdale, I think you could argue he's at fault a wee bit. He should be punching the ball rather than trying to catch it. Great finish from Martinez, though. Real great improvisation, Rashford is. I mean, United aren't a one-player team by any stretch of the imagination, but their best players, if you take Rashford out of the equation, their best players seem to be defensive players. Varane, Martinez, De Gea, Casemiro. You think about the attacking players. Garnacho looks a real prospect, but he's not getting enough game time. Anthony, we've talked about. Martial's always injured. Who else is there? Van der Beek's out for the season. Sancho, what has happened to him? Is he away to some intensive training camp to lose a couple of pounds? I don't know, but he could be a different player when he comes back. It's not unheard of. It's happened in Arsenal as well. Players have went a long stretch without having any game time, worked on their game, went to hit the gym, done whatever works for them, come back and being a completely different player. I don't my suspicions are he didn't really buy into the way Ten Hag was playing, or he ill-disciplined, or maybe didn't work as hard. And Ten Hag's maybe said to him, right, taking you out of the spotlight for a while, go and train, do this, sort your injuries out, whatever, problems he may be having. And I'm really interested to see what he's going to be like in the second half of the season if he starts getting games, especially with Anthony being a bit. That could definitely be an option. I know Sancho likes to play on the other side, like Rashford too, cut in, but he's more than adept at playing the right wing too, and just So it's interesting. But in terms of the offensive players, it's only really Rashford that you can say has consistently been good, especially in the last few months. Like, you look at that front four for Arsenal, especially Jesus comes out and you're like, Nketiah might grab a wee goal here and there, but we might be in big trouble here. 7 goals in 7 games, consistently played really well today. Great finish for the second goal as well. Saka, you don't need to say anything about. And Martinelli, I think, arguably being the worst of the 4. The fourth being Odegaard, who's just, I don't have enough superlatives for Odegaard. Like, there was a wee passage of play in the first half or second half. He did this wee pass through to Xhaka, and I think did Martinez come in and tackle him before he could shoot, but it was like he moved the ball onto his left foot and just did this one touch pass, just wee touches like that. He's just the Rolls Royce of a midfielder. Like, and Martinelli, I think it's arguable. You could argue maybe he might need a couple of games out of the team because he is great. He tries and he works really hard, but he's kind of, people have got him sussed out now a wee bit. He always cuts back, goes to the byline, tries to cross his left, or he'll try to cut in and have a shot. But he wasn't that effective today, like, in my opinion. But maybe that's just complimenting the United defence. But it'll be interesting to see Sancho come back for sure. If they can get anything close to the Dortmund Sancho, that's going to be like a new signing for these guys. Definitely.
That's what we need because, as you say, Rashford needs some help up there. He seems to be running the show on his own. Anthony is not doing it. Whitehorse has just come in. We can't expect big things from him. Bruno scored a couple of goals lately, but he's not been in the same form that he was when he first came to the club. And Martial's always injured, so yeah, Rashford's kind of on his own at the minute. He's so confident now. I think this is the best he's ever been. He's been compared to Mbappe, and some of that praise has been ridiculous. But at the moment, it's not so laughable. If he keeps this up, then he really will be as good as Mbappe. You want to come in this?
Well, he's just explosive. It's just anytime he gets the ball, it's just straight towards goal, shooting, accuracy. The thing before, the thing I was going to say, just one wee quick thing on Rashford was, I think what impressed most people, even non-United fans, is Ten Hag's a disciplinarian, obviously. Gets cut out of the team for the first half of the game against... Who was it that he didn't start against?
Oh, Wolves. Yeah.
Well, doesn't sulk, doesn't moan, doesn't throw a fucking hissy fit, like someone like Aubameyang might have done, back in the day for Arsenal. Arteta is similar disciplinarian, but he comes on. Did he score the winner in that game, or did he score the first goal in that game? Yeah. Great, professional, the other players should take an example out of Rashford's book, and maybe step it up a wee bit, because he could have easily, threw a hissy fit, had a sulk, started underperforming again or whatever, but he comes on, he scores, consistently good,
I feel like the thing about Rashford is it is that mentality. It's almost like he competes with himself. Do you know what I mean? And a bit like the good side of Cristiano Ronaldo, but the bad side of Cristiano Ronaldo is that he thinks that everybody else should kind of worship him, whereas Rashford clearly doesn't. He's got that attitude where he's like, I have to perform at my best, and if I don't, I'm not happy with myself. And I think he can accept then if the manager feels the same way because he himself doesn't feel happy. Just when you're talking about the superlatives there, watching some of his play tonight and his explosiveness, I know you're going to laugh at this comparison, but it reminded me of actually Brazilian Ronaldo at his best, where nobody can touch him. Even if you get near him, he's like shrugs them off. He's got that pace, that power, and the finishing. I mean, I know that is a massive superlative. Not saying he's anywhere near that level on a weekly basis, but some of the things that he's been doing at the minute are in that kind of ballpark. He's brilliant at the minute. So hopefully he keeps it up.
Yeah, he's been a revelation because last season he looked as if he was on the way out. His form was awful. He looked like he wasn't even trying. He'd been linked with PSG, and it just wasn't happening for him. He'd been out in form for a long time, but credit to Ten Hag and the player himself for turning it around. So just come to the comments again there. Lucky Singh, clearly not a fan of the Glazers. I don't think anyone is. And he doesn't want to see any more American businessmen taking over the club, and I can understand that. But that's a conversation for another day. Certainly, we might do a show in the midweek about that. But just coming on the United player ratings, then, as we always do, there'll be lots of ups and downs here. De Gea probably a 5, to be honest with you. The distribution was terrible. And what really annoyed me the most about De Gea was when Arsenal putting us under pressure at the end. He punched a ball that he should have caught, and led to more pressure. I don't know why he didn't catch that ball. It was strange. But yeah, so only a 5 for him. The two fullbacks, Wan-Bissaka and Shaw, weren't very good. I think Shaw was even worse. He got a torrid time from Saka. So Wan-Bissaka probably a 4 and Shaw a 3. Martinez is excellent. Brilliant goal. So brave for that goal as well. I know some people might not appreciate the comparison, but John Terry would have done that, putting his head where people would put their feet, not even closing his eyes either. So
he gets extra marks. He gets extra marks for the retro 80s headband as well.
I was going to say, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
he just makes you look
picked
hard.
Up, it was an elbow from Crystal Palace player during the week that led to that. But yeah, and he made some many last-ditch challenges as well. So definitely a 7 for him. Varane, probably a 6. Considering we conceded 3 goals. Definitely, you could argue that he could have helped prevent 1 or 2 of them. Probably not his best day, but he has been excellent. So just a 6 for Varane. Eriksen, I think he was just getting overrun. He looked tired. He didn't close Saka down for that goal. And I think there was another effort at Saka. I think he hit the post and he turned Eriksen there as well. He just asked him to do a job that it's not his natural position. No CDM. Eriksen's a number 10. As well as he's done in certain games in that position, he does well in either dominating possession against lower quality opposition, but in the big games you can't play Eriksen in that position because he doesn't have the stamina for it. So Eriksen probably only a 4. McTominay probably a 4. Just on the basis that he's not Casemiro. He just doesn't have his ability of being able to read the game and his tackling ability and the passing range that Casemiro has, which is excellent. McTominay was just anonymous today, really. So just a 4 for him. Fernandes, I think, as always, he's a bit up and down, isn't he? He does a lot of good stuff and baffles you at times as well. But so probably a 5 for him. Anthony, a 4. I know he made a track back well at one point and probably prevented a chance for Arsenal, but just frustrating again. Very one-footed, easier to defend against for that reason, and not making good decisions. And he's a bit of a one-trick pony, always cutting in and looking to shoot on his left foot. But yeah, I don't think he was good. So probably a 4 for him. Rashford, excellent. Apart from the brilliant goal, he also, like we just mentioned 10 minutes ago, that run where he took it around for Arsenal defenders, and then Ramsey had to make the save from the deflected shot. And yeah, he was always a danger. I think Ben White was substituted because he was on a yellow, and he's going to be playing for 45 minutes on a yellow against Rashford. That was a recipe for disaster. So it was smart management by Arteta. So probably a 9 for Rashford. And Whitehurst, yeah, like we said earlier, good link-up play, worked really hard. Just not a threat in front of goal at the moment, but hopefully that will come. So probably a 7 for him. And the sub, Fred came on with 20 minutes to go, and didn't really. Some of his passing was a bit off, I noticed, but can't really give him a rating. He wasn't on long enough, and Garnacho certainly wasn't on long enough, which to my frustration. On Ten Hag, because of the substitutions, on the tactical decisions, I would probably only give him a 4 as well, unfortunately. But yeah, I am happy with Ten Hag overall. So yeah, Arsenal win the game, deservedly so. They're flying high. United just they're a top 4 team. They're just not quite title challengers at the moment, and it was fanciful even talking about that. So I thought we'd lose today, but it is still disappointing to lose in that manner the way we did right at the end. But we were asking for it. We are inviting Arsenal onto us. There was too much pressure. You can't hold out against a team like that for 20 odd minutes. So yeah, I can't be too disappointed. We just need to go back to the drawing board now and get into the League Cup final and try to win a trophy. If we finish top 4, win a trophy, that's an excellent season. Given where we were last season was a disaster, and it felt like there was a lot of rotten apples in the dressing room. A lot of people didn't want to be there. The 2 managers last season were simply not good enough. I think Ranić was even worse than Solskjaer. So Ten Hag has turned things around very quickly. So yeah, hopefully we can get into that League Cup. I think somebody asked earlier, I think it was Rock Road, do you think United can win a trophy this season? I think so, absolutely, because none of the traditional big teams are left in the League Cup. We're in the semi-finals. Newcastle's still there, obviously. So, Chris, do you think United have got a great chance now of picking up the League Cup with Forest in the semis and potentially Newcastle or Southampton in the final?
100%, Kyle. Yep, you just said it there, and I totally agree. Yeah, I don't see any reason why not. We've showed that. Yeah, in even in the bigger games like against City, there we can turn up and we can get a result. So, yeah, I think that given the teams that are left in it, like you say, Forest, you'd like to think we can win that game, and Newcastle are doing well obviously this season, but I don't see any reason why on a day we couldn't get past them, and the same for Southampton. So, yeah. I agree with you, Kyle. Things are so bad for so long. And as United fans, I guess we're spoiled a wee bit over the years used to success, and things are going well now. People starting to talk about, maybe this is our year again. And yeah, like you said, it was probably a bit premature to be talking about that. But I do think we're good enough to win a trophy. And if we won a trophy and finish in the top 4, I think that have to go down as a really good season and big time progress compared to where we'd been. So yeah, I would take that and be more than happy. So yep, fingers crossed we can get something. From the cup games.
So Conor, I know you're a big fan of La Liga, and United are playing Barcelona in the Europa League coming up in next month. How do you see that one going? Do you think United can beat Barcelona, or do you think Barcelona will be favourites?
I think before a ball is kicked, Barca will be the favourites. But I haven't watched a lot of them this season. But when I have watched them, they're very, very up and down. They've got a huge squad to choose from, some amazing players, but some that blow very hot and cold as well. I think it'll all come down to the fitness of Lewandowski. And just, the fact that I think he's playing them at Old Trafford in the second leg.
That's right.
Is that right? Yeah, that's huge. I mean, if he's going to the new camp and get a draw or even lose 1-0 or something, I fully expect you to get the result at Old Trafford and go through. But they're still capable of blowing teams away. They destroyed Real Madrid the other day in the Spanish Super Cup. Lewandowski, when he plays, they're a different side altogether. That midfield is going to be their midfield for the next 10, 12, 15 years. If they're going to keep those players, Pedri and Xavi are unbelievable players. They still got a couple of old hands there, like Busquets and stuff, but Ansu Fati, Dembele, unbelievable squad. But I don't know, Xavi, they're top of La Liga, but very inconsistent. I don't think La Liga is what it used to be. Still think Madrid are capable of going and winning Champions League and stuff like that because they're just Madrid. But from what I've seen of La Liga this season, and specifically Barcelona, I wouldn't be too put off if I was a United fan. I think you're definitely more than capable of beating them over 2 legs, unless you go to New Camp, just have an off night and ship 3 or 4. But I can't see it happening, not with this manager. I just can't, I don't see United. You can say the one game this season where they really got a bit of a spanking was the City game, but even then, he scored 3 goals against them. Games like that happen, you know what I mean? I just think Ten Hag's too canny, and especially every week there's progress. You can see it happening. And last 2 games, there's been wee mini blips, but it's to be expected. Like you said, he's only in the job 6 months. I mean, I think the progress that Ten Hag has made in the 6 months that he's had the job is far more than Arteta's done with Arsenal. Now, he won the FA Cup, but I think when he joined Arsenal, they were in the, if not the semi-finals, certainly the quarterfinals. So I think he beat City in the semi-final, okay, but it's a one-off game, But I think in the 6 months, Ten Hag, the change in the dressing room, the change in the style of play, the discipline, getting the noise back, getting the passion back and stuff. I think he's done more in his 6 months, possibly than Arteta had done in his 6 months. You could argue Arteta had a bigger rebuilding job to do. I mean, I seen a thing the other day, Arsenal squad whenever Arteta's first game. I think there's maybe 3 players and remain at the club, not even on the bench anymore. Like that's how many he's got rid of. So your Ozils, your Aubameyangs, your whatever. So yeah, but in terms of Barca, if I had to put my neck out, I think United will do it over 2 legs, just about. I think it'll be one of those second legs where Old Trafford's rocking. You might be having to come back from a small deficit from the new camp, and I just think he'll do it. Whether or not you'll win the Europa League, that's a different question. I mean, who's to say? You don't meet us at some point again, then that would be tasty. But yeah, I do. I think he'll beat them over 2 legs.
Well, I hope you're right. You can only imagine the reception that Casemiro's going to get at the Camp Nou. I don't think he'd care, though. I don't think he'd care.
He'll hold his hand up like that. That's what That's what Barca guys love to do. They love the 5 fingers. The 5-0. It stands for something different for him, though, doesn't it? Just
he's won more European Cups than United, and so is Varane. It's staggering, really.
It's insane. It is ridiculous, isn't it? Like I love the comment that Casemiro made whenever he first came to United. A journalist asked him and said, "So how do you feel about coming to Manchester United and not having Champions League football?" And he says, "I don't care. I've won it 5 times."
It's good to have a wee break. We bit of a change.
Exactly, bit of variety in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
I want a challenge now. Exactly. It's been too easy at Madrid. He's captain material, and that's what's been missing as well. With so many players now who are arguably good captain material, which we never had, since Fergie retired. You could argue there's been so few of them. I mean, so many of them now. You could say Varane, Martinez, Casemiro, and Bruno. There's so many potential captains there that didn't exist, for most of the post-Ferguson era. So that's another.
Can I ask you guys a question, as United fans, and be honest? This is just from an Arsenal point of perspective. If you came up against Bruno Fernandes in an opposition team, would you think he's as hateful as I do? Or, geez, are you going to defend him to the hilt? And don't be like, tell the truth. Like, if he wasn't a United player, would you see why people think he is a bit of a...
No, I understand what you mean, yeah. But I think every club has that type of player where opposition fans love to hate, and you love him when he's on your side. I think... he says Xhaka at Arsenal is probably maybe a bit like that.
Well, the thing about Xhaka is a year ago, the Arsenal fans felt the same as the opposition fans. They wanted him out. So it's the fact that Arteta's that slight tactical switch where Partey's fit, so Xhaka plays a little further advanced, and you can see this year he's been just unbelievable. But Fernandes, I mean, that's not. Don't get me wrong, like unbelievable player, like in terms of technical ability and passing and shooting and positioning and his passion, like you said, great could be a great captain as well, is a great captain. But as an opposition fan, geez, God, he's hard to like.
Sorry, he's not a dirty player. He's not the kind of player. He's not a thug. I don't think he's just petulant. He's like petulant and irritating.
He's very vocal.
Yeah, he's vocal and he's annoying, and he's a wee bit gamesmanshipy, but he's not hateful. He's not he's not dirty. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, the issue for me, if I'm being critical of him, is constantly in the referee's face, constantly in the referee's ear. Even that annoys me as a United fan. And the simulation at times is just embarrassing. It's a bit like Ashley Young. Yeah, it's not great. But I think most clubs have a player or several players which opposition fans love to hate. I mean, you could pick them at any club. You could say Liverpool. There's so many of them. You know, I'm not being biased.
Well, I
It's the
guess
entire
I
team.
mean I guess with Arsenal, obviously there's Xhaka. I think Ramsdale's fast becoming an opposition hatred figure. You know, especially because he invites it. But I love
Well, there's
that about
definitely
him.
a
You know,
Spurs
he's
fan
got
who
a
gets
better
on more.
mouth about him. Like, you know, you know, that's real hard guy coming down kicking some guy in the back. Like,
It
you
was
know,
pretty
but
poor. Like it was a bit stupid.
yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Though every club needs them, don't they?
I think for City, probably Jack Grealish, maybe one of those players who people love to.
You know who my City one is? Rodri.
Rodri.
I cannot
Yeah.
stand it goes back to whenever they scored the last minute winner last season. We completely outplayed them, then I think Xhaka got sent off as usual. And it was just backs to the wall stuff for the last 20, 30 minutes, and then they scored in stoppage time. And he ran straight up to the Arsenal fans and was doing all that there, and you're just like, and he does wee slide tackles here and there. They're actually a bit dirty, you know.
Yeah,
In saying
Fernandinho was
that,
another example. Yeah,
Fernandinho's
30.
he's pretty easy to hit. He was great. He was dirty. Like, yeah.
Do you think there is anything to be said for early on the match, the coming together between Gabriel and Fernandez? Did you see anything in that at all? The wee kick out?
I think Fernandez kind of went to kick him and then thought twice about it, and
It was
his
kind
leg
of like a
back wee
half
bit.
kick, wasn't it? It wasn't enough really,
Yeah.
but
He
you
changed
know,
his mind halfway through. Yeah,
just wee decisions like that I think he's capable of that might come back to haunt him in some games, you know.
yeah, he certainly got a bit of a temper about him, and he's a very intense character. But yeah, I can fully understand why opposition fans don't like him. But like I said earlier, at Liverpool, there's so many of them. Robertson being the obvious one right away.
Well, I quite like Robertson. I don't care that he's a Liverpool guy. He's a Hibs fan as well. Like so, yeah, I quite like him.
And you could Darwin Núñez. You know, I mean, what was it?
He's
a prick, isn't he?
He's a balloon. Like he's a balloon. Sure, wasn't him in his first game where did he get sent off his first game where he said, like, "What are you doing, you complete idiot?" Not much between
the one for me for actually this season in terms of Liverpool links, in terms of players or whatever. I don't even think it's the players. I think it's Klopp. He's really, really getting on my nerves now. And he came out yesterday. I don't know if anybody's seen the quote. He said they asked him about it being his 1000th game, and no need at all for him to say this. But he comes out with, well, you know, we only drew 0-0. I'll take that. You know, Wenger's 1000th game, they got beat 6-0. Like, why is he saying that?
What's that got to do with anything? Like,
that's just a low blow, like.
Yeah, it's just silly. Well, you think you know what I'm gonna say, but the manager that annoys me the most is, I know you're gonna hit this, Conor, by saying all the time, is Guardiola. Guardiola. Oh, he winds me right up. Yeah. He is the most huffy, gurney man that I on TV. He is just always ready to get annoyed at somebody for something, and I just want to tell him to just.
At the moment, it's his own players.
He's such a sore. I mean, I know he said it's saying, "Show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser." I get it. You know, man, you don't want a manager to be a good loser, but he's so petulant and like he's just always ready to have a moan. He just winds me up.
Yeah, just you mentioned Arteta there. He's the Arsenal man that is irritating the opposition. And he's absolutely insane. I mean, the way he gets on the touchline, I've never seen anything like it.
He's animated, like.
Well, to say the least,
but,
yeah.
I mean, even I, as a fan, like he does have to cool it down. Like, I mean, it's not on running up the fourth officials over nothing. I mean, the thing he got a yellow card for earlier was ridiculous. I mean, why is he doing that? It was a foul. Yes, it was a foul. It wasn't a dirty foul. It wasn't even. It was barely a foul. And he's running down the fourth official, going, you know, that's the third time
for the yellow.
Can't be. You know, condoning that at all. Like, I mean, as a coach, though, you know, I love listening to him, his tactical side of him and stuff like that. And I do like that he's animated, but he's got to cut that nonsense out because, you know, at some point he will get sent off, and deservedly so, you know. But
in the Newcastle game, he was going berserk. I've never seen anything quite like that. I think it was in you didn't get a decision your way in the late stages of the game, and he was going bananas. He was. I know I've seen animated managers, but Arteta from minute 1 to minute 90, he's just going crazy in every game. He's going to have a stroke.
He's basically saying to himself, right, I've basically got like a 10-year career, or because if I get past the age of 50 and I'm still doing this, I'll be in the ground. Like,
Yes.
you know, he's got to calm down. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so that about sums it up. Yeah, Arsenal deserve it winners. United clearly came close today, which is, I suppose you can take that as a positive, that United gave Arsenal a good game, considering Arsenal are top of the league and quite a distance ahead of United. So, yeah, I think the only difference is, like I said earlier, you know, Arteta is a few years into his project, whereas Ten Hag's only getting started. And like you said, Conor, Ten Hag is probably 6 months in ahead of schedule and doing better than what Arteta was doing after 6 months. So that bodes well.
Big job. Okay. It was a big rebuild, just like Arsenal. Like, you need to get the bad characters out of the club. You get the worst players out of the club. You need the right signings, the right attitude, the right discipline. And you can't just, everyone was expecting Ten Hag. I was probably one of them. I was expecting Ten Hag to come in and after 2 games to be playing like Ajax, you know, this sulky. But if I remember correctly, the first games were very pragmatic. They were very kind of like 1-0s and, you know, don't concede and sign more players, and then you get the right team in, you start to play, you know, the type of football you know we wanted to play, like possession based, kind of easy on the eye, and it has been that. You've been much better to watch in the last few months, since he started implementing this whole plan. Like, so I definitely think United will win a trophy this season. It'll be one of the cups, one of the domestic cups, and as I said earlier, I think Arsenal will be kept to the title. So I think he'll actually win more silverware than Arsenal this year, but we'll certainly finish above you in the league, I would say. Like, but who's to know?
Yeah, it's hard to call. It's very hard to call. Just about Ten Hag, you're right. What you say, Conor. I talked to Kyle about this before in the podcast. I watched like a documentary about him, just as he came to United, and he said exactly what you said there. You know, he talked about the way his philosophy, so to speak, in this possession-based football. And somebody had said to him, you know, when you come into a club, then do you just try to implement that? And he said, well, I do, but exactly what you said. He says, but I'm not stupid. I know that you have to have the right players to do that. So my first is get the most out of what I've got, and then build, you know, towards what I want. So, yeah, I think you're right. I even at that, I didn't think he would get as much out of what he has so quickly, and obviously signings have helped that. But I think the fact that he's identified those signings so fast, he's identified the big weak areas of weakness and the big problems, and you know, and got them out. You know, like dropping like Maguire and just saying he's a problem. He has to go out of the team. Get somebody in that I trust. Get them in now, and that's it. So, you know, he's plugging the kind of the big holes already, and then obviously then in the future you'd hope that he's going to build something. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm well impressed with him. I definitely are. So yeah,
the most impressive thing of all, arguably apart from the results, and the quick turnaround of form and the way Rashford's playing, is the way he dealt with Ronaldo. I thought he handled that absolutely superbly.
100%. Never mind Maguire, Ronaldo, exactly. Yeah, biggest problem of all. Absolutely.
And he showed he wasn't terrified of the words. You know, a guy who's won 6 Ballon d'Ors or something. He wasn't terrified of him, was he? He put him in his place.
And even without that, even if that interview had never happened, I still think he would have got rid of him in January anyway, regardless of the controversy of the interview and stuff.
Definitely.
I think he would have got rid of him if he hadn't got rid of him in January. He certainly wouldn't be playing him. He would have just let him run his contract out or whatever.
In fairness, Conor, the reason why Ronaldo did what he did is because he knew that that's what Ten Hag was pushing him to, and then he just jumped before he was pushed out himself. I think he knew that's how it was going. So
yeah, he wanted to make it look like Ronaldo wanted to make it look like it was his call to leave and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
When really Ten Hag was just almost provoking him by, you know, constantly leaving him out of the team, bringing him on for wee cameo appearances, and then remember when he was going to bring him on for 3 minutes against Spurs, and Ronaldo left the stadium in a huff before the game ended. That was Ten Hag probably winding him up, to be honest.
Probably.
Yeah,
exactly. Our blame is right. It worked.
So we'll leave it there for today. If everyone could please comment your thoughts down below, smash a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel if you like our podcasts. So thanks for coming on again, Chris.
Cool. Good to be here as always, Kyle. Good to be on with Conor. Something different, but a crack. All good. All good.
It was easy on you.
Welcome to the show, Conor. If we play Arsenal in the Europa League, I'll certainly have you back on.
Oh yeah, I say live pod during the match.
That could be
Yeah,
tasty,
live
Connor.
watch
That could
along.
be tasty.
No bother.
Okay,
Thanks.
guys. I'll see you
Take
there.
care. See you
Take it
guys.
easy.
Take care. Good luck.
Bye.